Welcome back, Game Design 1 students. We have gotten into the first few days of class. It's June 5th as of the day of this recording. We started on an odd day on Saturday. So I thought I'd give you guys a few days to catch up on everything. You can see on the to-do list, you should have everything you need in Canvas to get started. So let's take a little peek at everything. The home page, I'm in student view here, so hopefully everything comes across the way it should. And just to let you know, this will update throughout the semester to make various options available. So you will have the opportunity to learn Unreal Engine as well as make card and board games. And I've opened up the curriculum. So if you would like to use Unity or Godot engines, you're more than welcome to use any other game engines that you are interested in taking on. I just won't have formal step-by-step tutorials on these. It's just too much for me to record in one class. So I hope you guys understand that limitation on my end, but I have used Unity for many years and I have used Godot a little bit, and I'm a big supporter of Godot. Here's my email again. So it's christopher.platts at West Valley Mission. However, if you could use your messaging system through Canvas is a little bit easier. Open office hours, which I'm doing right now, are today, which is Monday and Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, 2 to 3 p.m. So no one showed up yet, but I assume that you guys are just getting started so that more people will hopefully show up and take part. And if it's at an odd day or time, let me know and I can always make arrangements to meet with you individually. So the course description here, I updated the calendar. So this was really confusing, this 10, 20% mark of total days math you're supposed to do for the calendar. So I got the clarification. So you do have the last day to drop without a refund, with a refund is tomorrow, which is Thursday, June 6th. To add, if you know have any friends that want to take the game class as well, please send them our way. They'd love to have more burgeoning game designers. The last day to add the class is the 12th. I believe that's next Wednesday. Take a look down here. And yes, the 12th is next Wednesday. And then the last day also to drop without a W is also next Wednesday. So if you can't continue with the class, if there's anything I could do to help you stay in the class, please let me know. I try to make this as accessible as possible. And it is asynchronous, so it's really hard for me to gauge how people are doing without hearing from you directly. So please don't be shy and contacting me. And then we're going up until the 26th, as we know, that's the last day of the class. You can request a pass, no pass by the 25th. And then final grades, I give you all the way up until the final day they're due. So although the class ends on the 26th, if people are cramming to get stuff in, usually the last week, I'll give you as much time as possible. So I did some samples here just to kind of show you some of the interactive music pieces I did, both using Unreal Engine to play live music and all the creatures you see in here, I developed that play music. Here's the stringed instrument. This is the bass instrument, the Trumbruticus, that you'll see in the video that plays bass that I 3D printed as well. So I usually do the digital and the analog. And then some level design, some little myconid mushroom characters, some mech suits. So just some fun samples for you to peek at that I hope inspired you to share some of your work as well. The announcements is the next space. So I'll post the open office hours on the announcement just to reiterate. It should be the same link. So the 7287, let's see if this is gonna, yeah, so it should be the same ID. So the same Zoom link should be good for all my open office hours throughout the semester. The syllabus is here. Just a quick walk through the syllabus. The open office hours are there. Is my email again. The course description is pretty straightforward. You're learning how to develop interactive games, how to integrate game mechanics, and following the curriculum, you should be immersed in the complete design process. I'll also introduce node-based programming tools. There is a pass, no pass option, so if you're worried about grades, although I think I grade pretty mellow on the grading. Like if you do your work, you're fine. I don't really do too much critique on between A, B, and C just because I don't think it's fair when you're learning a creative medium like this, that kind of pressure. So I just more like, have some effort in there, do the work, and you should be able to get an A, I think. A lot of times the lower grades, if you're completely missing an assignment, have a 0. That's what usually hurts your grade. So try not to get any zeros. For the student learning outcomes, we just talked about, we'll do some testing as well. So hopefully everyone's got some sort of support group. We'll do some meetups. Maybe you guys can get together locally or with friends and family and test out your games. And although there's no text required, I do have, actually change that this is incorrect. So I do have a textbook we'll look at here in just a moment. It is the Game Design Workshop, Player Centric Gaming. I found that we have free access to that, so I changed this out. But if you go to those instructions here, you should be able to fill this out and get your book. So I have a whole page dedicated to that. The grading is pretty straightforward. It is 10 percentiles from 60, 70, 80, 90, then up to 100. Oops, fall semester. Isn't I found two errors already. Thought I should have done this a little better job. Hopeful links if you have any sort of crisis, any uh, sort of accommodations, just let me know. I give everyone maximum accommodation as possible. You have up until grades are due to turn in work, so think of extended due dates to the very maximum for every one of you. So I think that part, I've done my part there to help people out. There's no formal attendance, although weekly discussions assignments will have due by Friday before midnight for the asynchronous class. Code of conduct, just be kind. Don't try not to antagonize people online. That's about all to remember. I think it's pretty straightforward, so I don't think there's anything else of too major interest there. Let's go to the modules though. So this is where you should start from the modules, and if we progress through this, this should take us through our first week. So you should have the first up to the first week's module here to look at, and then you can go to the individual pages. I'm constantly updating things, so just be aware you might go into a page that's half done still that I'm kind of working on, that maybe I published inadvertently or that I published with and that I'm testing with people. So just keep that in mind. So if you click here on week 0, preparation, you should have a next button as you go through modules. It should go pop you through all the pages. So we're going to take this route through the site, and hopefully this all makes sense. So you have the option of doing both analog pen and paper as well as digital using Unreal Engine or Unity and Godot. Like I said, that's kind of a recent update. So in case you signed it before and it was mostly Unreal, just be aware we're going to have some more pen and paper and some prototyping and documentation exercises as well. We're going to really get into games that involve some kind of character, story, world building, and level design, just because that um, keeping that cohesiveness of character and story will help you with games. You could do like a really abstract game, like a backgammon or chess or checkers, things like that. But those really, that should be like a part of what you learn. You should really also look at how characters and story and world building adds to the design of your games. And then we'll look at the core mechanic and the interactive elements and the controls and movement and game objects. Analog or digital. How do you move your character through the world? What are the input and controls? There are other. Is it multiplayer? Is it co-op? Are the movement rates vary? Do you have different movement rates for like overland travel, or are you moving like Settlers of Catan, where you kind of have ambiguous larger spaces to use? We have pickups and AI bots. You actually do your kind of state machine, how the AI is going to react. You can do that similar on pen and paper as well as digital. So it's just some fun stuff there. The audio, graphics, and VFX UI, that's mostly for the digital side of things. We'll also have some content pipe creation pipelines, so you can go from traditional paper or cardboard pieces. I'll also introduce how to do aluminum wire and foil with green stuff clay, which are epoxy, which is how miniatures were made in the old days. In fact, when I started in the 70s and 80s. And we'll also look at some newer materials like EVA foam, epoxy, cost clay, and some 3D printing. So if any of you have a 3D printer, also let you know where you can access 3D printers in your area. We'll have discussion forums on that as well. So parallel exercises will demonstrate. You'll do also how to do a digital sculpture, model it, rig it, animate, and texture it on your own, and your own props as well. So I'll show you how to make your own model kits right here. I already have the videos up on YouTube for those, so you can watch those as well. So if you want to have a game prototype that also looks good, but even if it's not polished to look good, at least knowing how it works, how to load in your own characters and your own props is really important for the game design process. Some advanced topics we'll get into blueprinting, so you will script some things. You can do some cinematic storytelling with a sequencer, and there's also the virtual production, which this class does cover part of the certificate if you wanted to do virtual production using Unreal Engine or real-time game engines for movies and video and real-time with both with live action and with virtual actors as well. So we'll start you off this first week. You should have all been kind of immerse yourself in some research. So looking at game theory, I have a post on the flow state we'll look at. What I'm going to publish later today is some brainstorming refinement techniques so you can come up with your own unique game design. You'll also have a character in a world with some mechanics. We'll look at some miniatures on board games and RPG systems. Once you've done that, we'll do a functional prototype. So you'll block in your own prototype. We'll offer some white boxing as well in the digital side to block in, have a spawn point, basic movement, set up some basic interactable pieces, and then have a world or space to move within, and then have some sort of think of some sort of objective and win condition for your game. Um, the end of the semester, once depending on different projects you're working on, you'll have various states of refinement. So you'll hopefully get to some level of testing and improvements in. So you'll decide for yourself if you want to really want to test the game, make it work well, and not focus on visuals and graphics. That is probably the most common way to make a good board game or video game is to make sure it's fun without all the pretty jingles and sparkles and painting and models and things like that. If it plays well without the skin, then you probably have a good game on your hands. But there is something to be said for improving the visuals and the graphics. And painting, texturing actually does add to the flavor, and you can have even an art or visually based or audio for that matter based game, and you can get to printing your final designs. Playtesting can be done remotely, at home with friends and family, at your local game stores. Hopefully, we'll get some meetups set up with you guys, and then live events at the local game stores. I think scheduling that now would be a great way for you guys to connect. The next page here, you have your free book. So register with the O'Reilly Online. I just showed you that link here. Go through those steps. It took me less than 30 minutes to get a response back. It took less than 5 minutes to fill this out. It was really quick, just a couple minutes even. And then from there, you should be able to access your game. Let's see if I'm still logged in. So that should take you here to the actual login. Looks like I am still logged in. You should have a profile. Here's your game workshop. I've also provided a list of these other books. The Art of Game Design by Jesse Schell, The Fundamentals of Game Design by Ernest Adams. It's very fundamental. And The Introduction to Game Design Prototyping Development by Jeremy Gibson Bond. This is a really excellent book for those of you interested in Unity. I don't have a book yet for Godot, but I'll work on that on our forums. We'll get something figured out there. So once you've logged in, you can go into here. You can then, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can go into the book, continue into the book, and from there you can start going through the structure of the chapters. So to start with, read chapters 1. Whoops, let me see if I can, I'm still navigating. Chapter 1 and chapter 2 are pretty light. So they're really just talks, it's kind of a cursory like overview of what skills you should have, what type of, how you design for innovation, what's the process like for play-centric design. So I think designing the game around playing it and testing it a lot around the player is really why I like this book. The second one, the structure that, go fit, these are kind of goofy little exercises, I think, but the real meat to get into this first week is chapter 3, working with the formal elements. So you want to know what these pieces are. So we're going to brainstorm on the videos here. Is it player versus player? Is it co-op? Is it multiplayer? Is it asynchronous? What are the types of objectives that you have in your game? So I think the objectives capture. Here's the list up top. Should be no. Yeah, so capture and race, alignments, rescue, escape, forbidden act. These are really good construction. These are really great ways to kind of separate the different objectives that you would have in your game. You also have procedures, rules, resources, conflict, boundaries, outcome, conclusion. So I will go through these in detail in the next videos, but I want you to read this first and have an idea. So this is pretty light reading. And what's really great as you go through these as part of the first set of the assignments is that you have these really awesome interviews with game designers. So part of your first designer, here's the player versus game, multiple individual players versus game, co-op versus game board. So these are great. But as you go through this, you're going to find, let's see if I can scan quickly through this. My book from the shelf, I've used it so much that it's actually falling apart. Now I had to like glue my book pages back together. So let's see if I can get through this quickly. Where's the interview with the game designers? Here we go. So they go through the designer for Magic the Gathering and for Ultima Online power ups. They go through interviews with Shigeru Miyamoto. Here you go. Here's The Mechanics is the Message by Brenda Romero. Each of these game designers, you should know who each of these people are. So this semester, this class, this summer, if this is the only class you're taking, to really focus on becoming a game designer or continuing your journey if you've already started as a game designer, is to know who is who and who the main designers are and look them up and find out what they've done that was innovative. Like, why do they have a name in the gaming industry? So Brenda Romero is definitely someone that has an interesting article. So all the articles are already in there to help you with your research, which is awesome. So chapters 1, 2, and 3 from part 1, the game design basics. Please read those first 3 chapters. We're not going to get into the dramatic elements yet, which is I think more of the story type of stuff. I have a whole segment on the story, and also I have a section on system dynamics. So let's take a peek over here. Okay, so after you've taken a look at those chapters, get your book, look at the other books you have available, and there's a lot of fun stuff to read through in there. Next, we're going to look at getting your game installed. So we're going to use Unreal Engine for the class formally, but the minimum requirements, you do need a chunky amount of space. So right here, I think you want some extra storage on your computer system. You want to have some RAM is recommended. So you can drop it down to the lowest settings. So I'll take care of that. I would suggest getting an extra 1 TB SSD. I just put a link there. You could do a search Newegg or Amazon or any other site you get for about $100. Here's the installer. Here's the tutorial to get your stuff installed. And then down here, the other game engines you can play around with. We're going to use 5.4.1, which is the latest Unreal build. But if you want to play with Godot, a Unity engine, Twine, RPG Maker, Game Maker, Armory, and Corona. I have used most of these. I've used Corona. We did a game jam and made a game and published with Corona. Armory is the new one. It's pretty cool. I've used Game Maker and RPG Maker. They sound similar, but they are 2 different games. Twine is awesome if you want to write, do some interactive dialogue. And then, of course, Unity's the big other game engine to use outside of Unreal Engine. But Godot's open source, and we love open source here. So let's go on to the next page here. So if you scroll down, hit next. And we're going to get into, I already covered the syllabus, so you could just scroll all the way down the bottom past the syllabus and go to the next page. And this will start us on the actual assignments. So we'll pick it up from